Hello, everyone, and I hope everyone had a great International Yoga Day yesterday. We had a lot of sessions. We're continuing that with another yoga session today. And today's yoga session is very interesting. We're talking with Jennifer. Jennifer has 4 kids. I couldn't believe it. You have to look at her Insta page and you have to really appreciate what she's doing. So we're going to find out what is it that she does. She's also, in addition to being a yoga instructor, she is a doctor of pharmacy as well as an integrative health practitioner. So welcome, Jennifer. Thank
Hi,
you.
thank you. Hi.
Well, tell us the secrets.
Um, it's a it's a lot. I'm not gonna lie. Having 4 kids and really trying to stay on top of your health, it's something I think that you start it before you come pregnant. You start your routine. I was into yoga. I was super disciplined before I even got pregnant, and just being in the medical field, being in pharmacy, I kind of knew that I needed to stay on top of things and stay on top of my health once I got pregnant. And it was something that you really have to make a commitment to. It's not really like, I'm going to get pregnant and then I'm going to use the pregnancy as an excuse. No one really feels like working out when they're pregnant, or no one really feels like eating healthy when they're nauseous. And so it was something I kind of just knew it was almost like automatic in me, where I was like, this is the mission. The mission is to have a healthy baby. The mission is to have a healthy body when I'm finished with this. And so no matter what it takes, we're getting through this, and that's what we're doing. So that's kind of what I did. I just kept my routine when I was pregnant. I kept my walking. I walk like I have my little watch. I try to walk 10,000 steps a day. Most days I walk like 15, 20,000. So it's like I kept that up. I kept my healthy eating, and I kept my yoga practice up. And then after I had the kids, it just made it so much easier to just kind of ease back into my yoga practice. And I never really gave up the healthy eating. So it wasn't really like I had a diet. I just kept my same diet up the whole entire time. And then, you have 1 kid, and then I had 2, and then I had 3, and then I had 4. So at one point, when I had my 4th child, I had a newborn, I had a 1-year-old, I had a 2-year-old, and I had a 3-year-old. And it's not easy by any means, and it's not easy for a woman to have 1 child and get back in shape. But when you do it 4 times in a row, when you're nursing them, and it's definitely something you have to make a commitment to, and each pregnancy is different, and each postnatal, your body comes out different every single time. My 4th one was an emergency C-section. I couldn't work out for 8 weeks. I couldn't, be active for 8 weeks after that. And so it was just, each time is different.
Okay, so let's just go through the what kind of routine that you personally have. I mean, so you are a yoga instructor, of course, but how? Let's just talk through a simple regimen of whether it's yoga, the kind of diet that you have, breathing, all the details.
You know what? And I hate to say this, because a good yoga instructor does not take their own needs into account. They kind of feel the room of what their students need and teach what they need. And most of the people who are attracted to my classes are females. They're females that want to get in shape, want to use yoga to get in shape. And so I always kind of taught what I needed, because I teach more of a high pace, like power yoga, where they have to see me doing it, and I have to verbally cue them, but I also have to physically cue them, do it with them. So I always taught what I needed at the time. And so there were times, there's times when you just have a baby and it needs to be slower. So I would kind of do more of like a slower yoga practice, or there's times where I'm like, okay, now, I'm all healed. It's time to go. We're doing like power yoga. And that's typically what the women that come to me like. They like the more high intensity, yoga that includes cardio and toning. And that's like my specialty. That's what I do. on a daily basis. That's what I teach. It's a mix of like you leave that class in 1 hour, you have everything. I do breath work, I do meditation, I do your, I take your typical asanas, like, you know, a triangle pose, a chair pose, and I take your typical like vinyasas, like your whole chaturanga sequence, but then I, you know, add toning, and then I add cardio sequences mixed in with it. So you get everything in that 1 hour. Like you get your meditation, you get your breath work, you get your yoga, you get your cardio, and you get your toning. And I think that was like game changer for me, because I always would try to do things like, you know, let's just go on the treadmill and do cardio for 30 minutes, and then let's go do our yoga to get our flexibility. And I never really got results with that. But I think, like, you know, making everything like a dynamic flow where you just flow from one movement to the next, and you're doing cardio and you're stretching and you're toning, it works. And even the people that come to me, like everyone's like, today I missed a class. One of our friends is pregnant, and she wanted to walk, and she's leaving to go to town. And so all of my girls, you know, we all went on a walk together, and everybody's just like, we need to make up this yoga class. I have to have this yoga class. You know, it works. And I think I've kind of, just through 4 pregnancies and having to get my body back so many times, and just listening to my own body, not to say that like I figured out the key to like a woman's body, but I mean, I think I'm on the right path of, you know, just incorporating everything, and not, you know, we're not gonna, I definitely don't pick up weights and go into the gym. And I know that like a lot of people think like as you get older, like I think I have a decent muscle tone and a decent fat percentage for not like sitting in the gym pounding at the weights all day, you know? So I think it's just a good mix of everything that kind of has worked for us.
So yeah, you know, that's so maybe let's just go a little bit more specific. So like type of postures, you know, that you were talking about, and you combining the cardio, you told me, you mentioned earlier. But what kind of postures are we talking about with the typical type of breathing technique? Let's just go a little bit more specific for the help of the users who will watch.
So what I typically do, and what I've been trained to do, is we'll take any yoga posture, really. I mean, you could take a chair pose, you could take a triangle pose, and in a normal yoga class, it would be static. You would take the chair pose, you would hold the chair pose, and you would breathe in it. So what I like to do is take the chair pose, we're gonna hold the chair pose, couple breaths, but then we're gonna move in the chair pose. We might do like some type of spiraling. We might, you know, lift up our knees to crunch our abs. We might, you know, do like some type of arm work in there. So you're holding the squat in the chair pose, and you're engaging all the muscles that need to be engaged in the chair pose, but then you're adding some type of dynamic movement. And so that's up, like, you know, that kind of is up to me, whatever the music is doing at the time, or, you know, whatever I feel like they need. Like if they say to me, I really want to work my arms, or I really want to work my butt. So if they say we want to work our butt, we're in a chair. I'll do the traditional chair. I'll hold it a couple breaths, say 5 breaths, but then we'll maybe do like lunges out to the side, squat, you know, like lunges to the back, squats. And then like if the music picks up, we'll start doing cardio, jumping jacks, burpees, whatever it is. But it's always like an up and down flow through the class. So we'll return to our breath work. We'll return to a stretch after we do that high intensity period. And I don't even want to call it HIIT, because it's not an intentional HIIT. It's kind of like, it's just a flow. I can't explain it. I can't explain it, but that's how we do it.
Okay, so what kind of breathing? Is it like, from what I'm understanding, so you start with some asanas like Surya Namaskar, but the pace would be a little bit faster than normally what we do. We typically do an asana, like I go for yoga classes regularly, but you hold the pose for, you know, not for a few minutes, but for a few seconds at least before you go into the next pose. So from what I'm understanding is this is a more fast-paced yoga, using the yoga postures, but a little bit more fast-paced, right? I just want to understand a little bit more.
So I use like intentional breath work in the beginning. So in the beginning of the class, we usually do a reading and some breath work. So whether it be like Nadi Shodhana, alternate nostril breathing, whatever type of breath work I choose to do that day, we'll do that in the beginning. And then when we're in a pose, so I always tell them, like, as the class goes up and down, when you're holding a pose, like a traditional yoga class, you want to, seal your lips and breathe through your nose like you would in an intentional, like in a yoga class, and make it intentional and try to, when you're flowing and it's slower, you want to try to sync your breath to your movement. So I'll tell them, inhale, go down, exhale, I'll cue the breath when we're moving slow and we're flowing or we're holding a pose. But when we're doing cardio or something high intensity, then I tell them, open your mouth, you can breathe through your mouth now. So it's almost like we switch between traditional yoga breathing and then I'm not going to have them doing crazy cardio with nostril breathing, So the intentional breath work is usually in the beginning or at the end in the meditation. And then while we're flowing, keep your mouth, your lips pressed together, breathe through your nose. Or if we're doing cardio or something really high intensity, I'll say, okay, lion's breath, exhale it all out and start, breathing naturally.
Okay, and how long are these sessions and how often you recommend? If someone wants to get in shape, sounds like it's a full body workout. It's not only just the yoga.
Right, yeah, no, totally. It's totally full body, yeah. So I teach Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So it's 3 times a week is what we do. And then Tuesday, Thursday, I walk a lot. So I live on the beach. I walk like twice a day on the beach, almost an hour each time. I know that sounds excessive and extreme and crazy, but I do that. So we do that Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then on the days off, I just tell them, we go hard in my class. We definitely go hard. So I'll have them walk, or, even Wednesday, sometimes depending on how they feel, we'll just do a power flow, just a regular yoga class, like a power flow, without all the cardio and the toning. It just depends on what everybody wants. I still try to feel the room out and see what people need. But most of the time they want to go hard. They want the music. They want the cardio. They want it all. So that's what I give them. And that's what tends to work for my body. And everyone, it seems to work for all of my clients as well. So.
Okay, anything else you'd like to add? This is a quick 10-minute session that we bring on a daily basis. Today's session was, even after being a mom, we give up, right? Most of the women give up.
Yeah.
We say, oh, but now I'm a mom, I can, I don't have to, right? So you don't have to give up. And that's what we're trying to say today with Jennifer.
Yeah, you don't have to give up. And I also don't think that it's definitely not the same for everyone. It's definitely not the same every pregnancy. And it's definitely not the same each stage of the pregnancy. Once you have the baby, you're not going to come to my yoga class and do 60 minutes of like yoga, HIIT, working out. No, I mean, there's there's a time and place for everything. Like right after you have the baby, a traditional yoga class would probably be, more what you need. You don't need more stress in your life. You have to remember that working out that hard does stress you out. And also when I'm in a stressful time in my life, like right now, I'm kind of, things are a little bit high stress in my house, and I don't want that HIIT and that cardio. I almost want the traditional yoga poses and the breath. I just need to slow my nervous system down, and I need to re-regulate. And so, today I took a break from teaching and I walked, and I think that it's really super important to listen to your body, because I fought my body. My first couple of pregnancies, I would say I fought my body, and I wanted to work out hard, and I wanted to get back in shape. And I look at the pictures, and as hard as I was working out, I was not getting in shape because I wasn't listening to my body. And really I needed the breath work and I needed the meditation more than I needed to pound the pavement and run and work out. And so I think as a woman, you really do need to listen to your body, more important than, getting that workout in. I think that's like the most important thing that I learned after having 4 kids. It's really, take a break when you need it. And if things are high anxiety and your baby's up all night crying and you're nursing, it's not going to benefit you to do a crazy workout. Your body's not going to get the benefits because it's not in a place to receive those benefits, So, I mean, when you're healed and everything's more regulated, you can do that. And I think definitely, I mean, every pregnancy is different. Every woman is different. Everybody's hormones are different. Every personal life is different. Your stress levels are different. And I think it's really about tuning into yourself and seeing what you need, and something that might be a little bit slower might be more beneficial to one person. And, some person might heal and be ready to go right out the gate with a high intensity workout, but that hadn't been the case for me, for sure. It's taken a while to work back up to my high intensity workouts after being pregnant and nursing and, colicky babies and whatever else the case may be.
Well, yeah, no, I looked at your Insta page and you look amazing. I mean, we can't see the full of you here.
Thank you.
But that is honestly, that is the truth. So we all need to get inspired from Jennifer and all the women out there who have kids, or who they should not give up, and they should just continue to keep working on themselves, because if you self-love, that is so important. We need to take time for ourselves, right? Jennifer, you want to add today?
Yeah, I definitely, it's definitely, and I think, if you don't have a budget for like a babysitter, and I know when you're nursing, it's hard to pass the baby off, but I mean, once the baby, and I did a lot of like, I will say, like, if you are having a newborn baby, even like how I did, I had like 3 babies, they were like little. I was pregnant with the other one. I got the Bob stroller. It's this company called Bob, and you can put 3 kids in a car seat in one. And I would just jog them around the neighborhood. I would be doing lunges off the back of the stroller. You do what you have to do when you can do it. And that's all you can do is your best, but I think if you stay consistent and you just make that a priority, you have to, I always say, like, for me, if it was a choice between like spending, the $50 on getting a manicure and pedicure or spending it on a babysitter and working out, I'm going to pick the babysitter and working out. Like, you could do without your nails. And I know, and I know that sounds harsh, but like, so many people are so worried about like, let me get my nails done. Let me get my hair done. Let me get this. But really, I mean, what does it matter if you're not healthy? So that was like one of my biggest tips. Like, if, get the babysitter for the hour, because the kids aren't going to let you work out. If you're there, they're going to be all over you. So you get, when you have 4 kids, a babysitter costs like $30 an hour. But if you have like one, you can get a babysitter for like 15, so you take your manicure, pedicure money, and you use that to work out. And that's just what I had to do.
Absolutely. Putting your health first, that's the foremost thing that Jennifer is talking about. So take care of yourself. I hope this session was useful, because we are trying to find instructors or experts or inspirational stories for all the women out there, so they can get inspired. That's the intention, and embracing the holistic wellness on a day-to-day basis, whether it's a yoga, diet, nutrition, a lot of things that we all have to do to stay fit and take care of ourselves. With that, thank you so much, Jennifer, for being with me. Yes. And thank you everyone for continuing to support us. We're launching our platform, so stay tuned. A lot of interesting things happening. So thank you again. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.